This is how I turned my cat into King Kong. The year was 2018, and being 5 years into my filmmaking journey, I was ready to make my best short film to date, Scooter Boy. I was feeling ambitious, and Scooter Boy was going to be epic. The camera started rolling, the footage, it was magnificent, the performances, beautiful. I could sense the Oscar buzz. Was this it? Was this my moment to make it big and become best friends with Spielberg? Only a day or two left to film and Scooter Boy would be in the bag and ready for post-production. Nothing could stop me. Nothing could get in my way. Suddenly, everything came to a crashing halt. Sam broke his leg. My friend. My lead actor. My Scooter Boy. He needed surgery, he needed rest, he couldn't walk, he couldn't stand, and he couldn't scooter. Could I change the script? Broken leg boy? Of course not. It wouldn't make any sense. We'd already shot the first and last scenes. Changing the plot was out of the question. Was it finished? Was I done? Were my dreams of meeting Spielberg over? Was Sam going to die? It was all unknown. Only time would tell. Time. How much time did I have? I made myself a goal of making at least one new short film a year, and Scooter Boy was all I had planned for 2018. What was I going to make now? I didn't have a large pool of actors, and that's when it struck me. What do you do when you don't have human actors to film? You use animals. I've always had a love for cats. This is a picture of me and my cat having a grand old time. But what was the story going to be about? I had to get creative because the cats can't leave the house, so I knew it had to be made inside of my bedroom. One thing I love about older movies is the use of miniatures. With technology today, it's rare that a film would use them. It's much cheaper and more flexible to achieve a similar result on the computer. But there's a specific look about miniatures that I find fascinating. Something can look fake when it's a miniature and still have a charm. You can get away with the jankiness of bad practical effects, more so than the jankiness of bad CG. Peter Jackson is one of the few directors to still implement miniatures into his movies. An example of that is his retelling of the classic 1933 King Kong. It's one of my favorite films, and the amount of work his team at Weta put into blending miniatures, CG, and live-action footage together is incredibly impressive. That's it. There's the story. What if I turned my cat into King Kong? Easy. Or so I thought. A lot is said about working with animals, and all of it's true. It's one big pain in the ass. They don't listen, they don't stand still, and they can't ride a scooter. They're pretty much worthless. Too late, this is the direction I'm going with. It's time I got to work. I collected cereal boxes for about a month and spray painted them black. I took copy paper and cut out white rectangles and glued them onto the cereal boxes for the windows. I knew that the final product would be black and white, just as it was in the original 1933 King Kong. This would help hide some of my mistakes. But I still painted the movie theater in color to get a variation in the tone. The theater took me the longest. It required lots of glue, paint, and even a couple empty rolls of toilet paper. It was the most important piece because it was going to be the main focus of the opening shot of the short film. I took pictures of the buildings and then dropped them into After Effects where I masked them out, duplicated them, and put them into multiple layers. The buildings closest to the camera are the darkest in tone and moving the fastest, while the buildings farthest away from the camera in the distance were the lightest in tone and moving the slowest. This is how our eyes see the world, and it helps sell the effect of depth, even though these are only 2D images. I bought a cheap biplane model from Amazon and strung some fishing wire to it. I remember having a difficult time using the fishing wire to balance the biplane because it was heavier than I anticipated, but I eventually stabilized it to my liking. I shot it in front of a green screen, popped it into After Effects, placed it in front of my moving city, and called it a day. Having actual footage of the biplane contrasted the flat images in the background nicely. It was finally time to shoot my cat. Odie was the star in this film. He was a veteran actor, may his soul rest in peace. I tried filming him in front of my green screen, which is really just a green sheet for a bed. But he didn't stand still for very long. At one point, he jumped up on the windowsill, and it actually worked out for the best because of the way the light wrapped around him. It just meant I was going to have to roto him out later. I used a balloon to get him to stay in place, and when he batted at it, I used it for the final shot of the movie. I did the same for my other pets, who were going to be flying the biplanes and trying to shoot Odie down. Some were easier to film than others. At the end of the day, I had all the footage I needed to tell my story. I titled it King Kitty. I released it in April of 2018, and was really proud of it. I still am. While you can see the original version, I'm also uploading a remastered version, as well as playing it at the end of this video. It's a little trimmed up with the addition of some film grain to help add some texture that I believe was missing in the original version. Links in the notes to both versions are below. You might be wondering, what happened to Scooter Boy? Well, Sam died. No, he didn't die. He eventually healed. We finished it and released it in January of 2019, a year after we initially started filming. Links in the notes below. You can see the age difference Sam was in the scenes, and while it might not be the short film I had originally hoped it to be, I'm still really proud of Scooter Boy, because at least we finished it. And I think that's the lesson I learned from all of this. If you're a filmmaker, or any other artist for that matter, it's important that you finish projects. Sounds simple, right? You see, it's really easy to be an aspiring filmmaker. I've always hated that wording. I don't want to be an aspiring filmmaker. I am a filmmaker because I make films. It doesn't matter if they're big budget, no budget, I'm using professional actors or using my friends and family to play the parts. Filmmaking is filmmaking. And sometimes, when you're down on your luck, you have to settle for a cat. Give yourself deadlines, give yourself a box to play in, go out there and make something cool. Or not, but don't call yourself an aspiring artist. You're either an artist who makes art, or you're not. And maybe you're just someone who appreciates art. That's fine too, but don't let anyone tell you that you need a ton of resources to make something you think is awesome. I think King Kitty is awesome, and I made it at the age of 17, in my bedroom, with some cardboard, a little bit of glue, and the motivation to get something finished. I'm Benjamin Burdick, that's it for now, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and enjoy the remastered version of King Kitty.